So I'm John Egan. I'm going to be talking about NFTs in your pocket and unlocking the future of collectibles on the dApps and mobile. So who am I? I'm the CEO of Vault.io. We have an iPhone app out there right now in the Apple App Store that lets you go and browse dApps and experience Web3 and also hold collectibles. We're becoming something pretty new. If you came by our booth, then you got an NFT-powered coffee earlier today. You might have also gotten a copy of our beta, which lets you do a few more interesting things beyond just browse dApps that I'll talk about a little bit here. But what I really want to focus on is where we are today, where we're going, a couple of concrete things that are being built, and just kind of continue that conversation moving forward. So today, like when you look at daily transaction volume on NFT contracts, if you go pull that up in like Etherscan, right? Like this is what it looks like. You have this exponential drop off in terms of where the contract transactions are happening. Like it's all happening in a very small number of contracts, mostly cats, mostly desktop. So it's a little bit sad from a kind of consumer experience when you're building a consumer application and you want the whole world on and you're telling people to go and like do reasonably complicated things like install MetaMask and install browser extensions and trust the Ethereum network. But it's not necessarily a horrible thing, right? It just means that we're on the early end of the adoption scale. NFTs are pretty young. Everyone here knows that. I'm really excited by the people I've met here and sort of gotten to know and getting more and more excited about the future. But I really want to kind of say that I think it's about time for us to be doing more on mobile. I think it's about time for us as developers, as companies, to start pushing really hard at consumer-oriented experiences on mobile that let people really understand the value of NFTs today, as opposed to kind of getting deeper and deeper into sort of the technical underpinnings of it when we're talking to just the world at large. So what do I think that means? I think we know about mobile and what's really valuable there. I think we know it's in everyone's pocket. I think we know people already associate mobile with identity and the things that they own. It's actually one of the most secure devices that people own. If you're on something like an iOS device, you're on a pretty safe device in general compared to the average desktop that's floating out there. And most importantly, it's the digital bridge to the physical world. So when we think about NFTs, when we think about how we're going to use these things, it really only works if people can have them with them all the time. And even though we're all here and we have our laptops in our lap because we're at a conference, most people who are out on the street are just walking around with their smart devices. So what are a couple of like opportunities that are in front of us? Possibly fewer cats, not necessarily. I think the place we're already kind of getting to is this always there ownership. So if you pull down any of the wallets that are out there today, we've kind of gotten over this hump. You can see your NFTs if you're on Trust Wallet. You can see your NFTs if you're on Vault. You can see your NFTs if you're on Toshi. And so we've kind of gotten to this point where like already have people carrying these things around. But I think we can take it a little bit farther than that. I think we can kind of move forward from there to some really interesting things like what we used to talk about ticketing maybe a year ago. I think we can actually start thinking about as like redeemables. Like what is the generic state of taking a digital asset, an NFT, authenticating ownership, and then using that as a bridge to access to either digital things or physical things. You were able to buy a ticket to this conference today, and if you came in and you tried to go through the redemption process of that, you would have had to pull your laptop out. I think there's a huge opportunity here on mobile to start enabling redemption within the device. And if you came by and if you've grabbed the private beta of Vault, you can actually start to do this. We did it with a coffee token today. We're going to start doing it with more promotional items over the next couple of weeks in the beta. And I think this is a really exciting space. I think the more we teach people about the activities that can be taken after you own the NFT, the more the world is going to start to understand the value of this as a piece of media. Because when you talk to the average person about NFTs and you show them a collectible, the initial reaction is usually, okay, it's a picture, right? I mean, I have this like picture. I gotta just take another picture of it. Like, what's the value of it being on blockchain? And the value there is that authenticated ownership, and redeemables and ticketing makes that perfect because the cost of authenticating ownership is an inverted economy or economics from like standard ticketing. The cost of verification is basically zero, even though there's a little bit of a cost of creation. Whereas if you're doing ticketing for like a massive event today, the cost of verification is actually quite high. Another thing that's, I think, really exciting here is the idea of starting to make everyone a creator. Why do we have to go wait for other companies to come out and set up a new group of difficult to find NFTs? Why shouldn't everyone in the world be able to go out there and create an item and see if it has value and distribute it to people and give that scarcity? So something we're playing around a lot with and we have available in the beta for Vault is an ability for anyone to open up the camera, open up your photo roll, take a picture, and distribute that out to your followers or have people claim it. So I'm actually going to, right now, create an NFT on the blockchain of all of you fine people in the audience. Wave. Here we go. I'm going to call this NFT.nyc. Great. So that's minting right now. So in about 1 minute, that's going to appear in Vault to everyone who follows me, as well as anyone else who signs up for the beta anytime soon, to be able to claim. There's going to be 15 of them. So the first 15 people to come in can get it. And once you've got it, you can do everything you can do with a regular NFT. You can go sell it on OpenSea. You can share it onto Facebook and show it off. You can talk about the edition that you've got. And in the future, you'll be able to import these things from external APIs. So if you have art and you want to distribute that around and you want a slightly higher quality experience where there's a redeemable aspect, we'll be able to do that as well. So we're building this. We're Vault. We're really excited about it. If you want to check out our beta, if you didn't get a chance to come down past our table, it's just vault.io/beta. And it'll ask you for a password. It's just nft.nyc, pretty easy. And if you go there and you download it now, you'll be one of the first very small group of people to play with it. This is the first time we've ever let anyone outside the company start to experience it. And that's really it. I just want to talk about a couple of brief practical items that we think are exciting on the blockchain. I think there's a lot coming in the next like 10, 15 years, but I think all three of these things, I think redeemables, I think everyone creating, and I think getting NFTs into everyone's pockets are goals we can all have as creators over the next 6 months to a year, as opposed to goals we can have over the next decade. So short and sweet, happy to take any questions. Otherwise, we'll pass it on to the next person. Yeah. Yeah, so the redeemable concept at a really basic level is it's just a web endpoint attached to the NFC or NFT. So when you open it up, it'll launch a Web3 browser. And inside of that browser, you can go and authenticate the owner of the wallet. You can authenticate the owner of the NFT. And then you can take downstream actions based on that. So for example, with the coffee machine, if you had an NFT for the coffee machine's not sitting on the blockchain. It's not waiting for you to send it to the NFT. It's reading a signed message from you, authenticating that you own the wallet, and with that, making the decision to move forward. So depending on the kind of item you create, you probably want different levels of security. For coffee, that's good enough. For a lottery, you might actually want people to send the NFT to like a lottery database somewhere where you can authenticate that it's been moved, and you might actually have that be on a node and a little bit more complexity there. But I think that's what's exciting about making it really generic, right? Anywhere or any NFT where you click redeemable and you jump to one of these Web3 endpoints, it's the developer's choice, the company's choice, the creator's choice, how they want to go deal with that authentication and what they want to do with the reality of you owning it. Anything from showing up at a conference and walking in the door to getting a discount at Amazon. If you wanted to give away Amazon coupons right now, you could do it. You could create a set of NFTs, and each one could be tied to a different redeemable URL that approves the fact that you own that NFT and then gives you the code for Amazon. Like really simple, easy to roll out stuff that makes these things usable and understandable by everyone. And that's what I think as an industry takes us past this idea of, you know, I've got an image that I own into this world of, oh, it's a whole different media item. It can do things that you wouldn't expect. I'm being thrown off. Anyway, that's it. Download the beta, please check it out. And thanks.